countries in Europe with official exorcists. Keep in mind, we're talking about people who are believed to be able to cast out the devil. We're not talking about exorcisms. I guess they're also getting rid of demons and other supernatural stuff. So in the UK, there's officially 28. There's a total of 20 in the Iberian Peninsula. There's 120 in Poland, and then a couple 9s and 1 8 in neighboring countries. And finally, number 1 on the list, there is 240 in Italy. Does this count the Vatican and San Marino as well? I wonder what the daily life of an exorcist must be. Like, how often are they really being called to perform exorcisms, or do they do like other things on the side, maybe like drive for Uber Eats? I'm going to assume that if there's 240 in the Italian Peninsula, then there must be a lot of work here. I think I'm in the wrong profession. How can I get my master's degree in this? From which country popes came from? Once again, another map where Italy is leading with 217, which considering where the Vatican is, shouldn't be surprising. But France is in second place with 16, and there's also Germany with 6. A few places with 1, but Iberia, Spain, and Portugal with 2. I wonder how little old Croatia managed to get 2. Greece had 4, and then even Turkey had 2. Oh, there was 5 from Syria. Remember that the Pope goes way back. We're talking like 2,000 years. So for the vast majority of these early ones, they were all coming out of the Roman Empire or Byzantium Empire. I'm assuming that's why 3 came from here, and even 3 from Tunisia. Always crazy to me that there's only been about 260 popes. I feel like it's been going on for so long, and especially back in those early days, people like kicked the bucket pretty fast. I just thought they'd be at like 500 by now. Oh, also can't forget about the +1 for Argentina. Abandoned, displaced, and almost empty towns in the Americas. The black dots are human caused, the red are natural caused. I mean, just looking at how north this Canadian one is, I think it should have been pretty obvious that thing was going to be abandoned. Notice that most of these are black dots, which means they are human caused. Canada and the US both only have 1, which was caused by some sort of natural disaster. They trying to tell us Santa Claus, Arizona is completely deserted, but I think their elf population is probably pretty high. Central America only has deserted towns that were caused naturally, and also include that in the Caribbean as well. South America or Latin America as well had a lot more natural causes. That could have been floods, fires, earthquakes, or other disasters. So is this stuff just really unsavable, like every single one? Why don't humans just move back? I mean, if the town got utterly destroyed, I get it, but are you saying every single one of these red dots is unsavable? Or do they just not want to put the effort into actually going back there? They're like, nah, I'm good. Maybe this was a sign not to move back. It's probably a big story behind every single one of these. Not surprised to hear a story like this. The only red dot in Mexico was evacuated because one day a volcano just appeared and erupted. But see why you wouldn't want to move back after that. There's a church here half buried under just lava rock. Wait a second, I do know the story of one of these places. Anyone else craving Kool-Aid? The foreign travel advisory map for Germany. Finally a map that's not the US or Canadian version of this. So in blue, normal caution is recommended. So Italy, Austria, Poland, pretty typical EU countries. In yellow, a raised level of caution. I wish they would have broken us down by each state, but I guess they just did that with Mexico. This is so drastically different than the US version of this. They basically tell us the only safe states is the Yucatan area. In the light brown, we have Germany recommending a very high level of caution. Basically, that's just Brazil, a certain area of China, a certain part of the Philippines, so some states are broken down. Countries in Africa. In the dark brown, travel is strongly discouraged, and in red, we have just do not travel, which is unsurprising for this zone. And then just the remaining part of Russia all remains very high. Germany's like, do not go there. We warning you. Some other red nations, a lot of Africa, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Myanmar. Crazy, the only blue places in all of the Western Hemisphere is Canada and Ecuador. What? Also, the only blue place in Africa is Botswana. I'm assuming some of the unexpected yellow nations might have to do with COVID. All these travel advisory maps take that into consideration. Crazy that Germany didn't put North Korea in red. Also, is this just a mistake, or is there some crazy stuff happening in this part of Japan? I'm shocked the Philippines are looking like this. I didn't think there was an issue. Also, what's going on with Greenland? Germany's cool with Denmark, though. They're saying trips outside the larger cities are not recommended because of the Arctic climate. Why isn't there an opinion on Antarctica, then? You should probably put this in red. Also, couldn't this be said for certain parts of Canada as well? I'm sensing some bias. Wait a second, that red dot in Japan might not have been a mistake. This is Fukushima. The millennial in me is coming out. The Harry Potter wizarding schools. This is according to J.K. Rowling herself. Of course, we all know about Hogwarts. And then which of those 3 schools participated in the Goblet of Fire? Oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying this. Oh, it was actually only 2 other schools that came over. Of course, the French school and then the German school. I guess looking back, they kind of made that painfully obvious. And those were not co-ed schools. I wonder if the rest are co-ed or not. So there is a North American school apparently, but who knows where that's at. I've never in my life seen a map divide the Americas like this, but alright. Mexico in the north and then Guatemala goes to the south. Like that this wasn't even named, it's just called School 9. And then there's like a sub-Saharan African school. We've got like an Australian empire with School 11. There's also a lot of random places that don't have schools. They can't be witches or wizards. Italy, Greece, Afghanistan, and then for some reason, the entire Korean peninsula. Man, I really wish we could have seen how crazy the Russian school was. Wait, have they already talked about this in those prequel books? I have not read or watched any of those movies. I love how the two most populated countries on Earth share a school. It's like 4 billion people that go to this one, and then like, what, less than 500 million going here? Can we get a Harry Potter World War soon? The most expensive college or university in each US state. Let's start with the big one, the University of Southern California. That is the most expensive? I thought Stanford would be up there. So this is per year out of state tuition and fees. Texas is right behind that, $60,000 to go to SMU. How does Oregon have us both beat though? I've never even heard of Reed College. USC has an acceptance rate of 16%, but Reed College has 42%. So like, if you're willing to pay that much, go for it. There's Colorado College, which is also pretty high on the list, but unsurprisingly, the Northeast completely dominates this map. To go to any one of these schools, it's gonna be over 60,000 per year. Honestly, even if I only had to pay 20,000 to go to the University of Wyoming, I'm still like, nah. You're still gonna be $80,000 in debt if you finish in 4 years. I'm surprised Hawaii is so low. Just go to college there. Oh, some overseas territories included. University of the Virgin Islands. Bit more reasonable. If that's including housing, I'm gonna go back to school. Crazy that Harvard isn't #1 in Massachusetts. I wonder if some of these colleges just like raise their prices so they can show up on lists like this and get more name recognition. I also think there's just an element of the uber rich people that just want to go to the most expensive schools in their state. Even if it's not worth it, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna charge the most so we can be like prestigious or whatever. Love Delaware is a pretty significant outlier, only at 36,000 while everything else is pretty high. Good time to remind people, I would not choose one of these schools if you're gonna major in like painting. Honestly, don't even go to school if you're gonna major in something like painting. Just throw on some Bob Ross and you're good. I feel like as long as you know why you're going to college, that's the most important thing. If you're going to school just to network with other people in your industry, go for it. If you're going to school just to party, then go for it. But don't go to school and not have any idea what you're doing, because that's what I did. And if you do want to do that, then go to a city college and you're all good. I don't even think it's necessary to say, unless you're trying to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. I feel like when I was going to school, the only option was to go to college. That was it. 100%. There was like, you gotta go to school, and if you don't, you're gonna end up a loser. When in reality, it's like 50-50, it depends on what you wanna do. I don't agree with the people that are like, no, don't go to college either. It just depends on the person, case by case basis. A Mexican abuelita has one of the hottest cooking channels on all of YouTube. This is based off average views as of the last 25 days, excluding shorts. Thank you. I hate that shorts made the view metric just unreliable. So 12th on this list is Martha Stewart. She's averaging less than 100K per video. Okay, that's really bad. We have some production companies like the New York Times and Chef Steps. Chef Ramsay's is only averaging about 200K views on his videos too. I think we're beating my dad over here in views. Just barely. Then De Mi Rancho a Tu Cocina, she's getting about 300K per video. Of course, Badish and Joshua Weissman way up there, but maybe one day she's gonna catch him. Oh, I've actually seen this channel before. This is good. This is how I can learn Spanish, just watching this lady's videos. Learn how to cook at the same time. 32 out of these 36 countries have more female than male undergraduates. And in the case of Argentina, there's way more female undergraduates. It's over 60%. And something tells me there's probably some gray countries that aren't included as well. This is actually not surprising. I feel like this stat's been thrown around a lot. Germany and Switzerland have more males than just Saudi Arabia and India. Iceland's pretty high on the list also. I thought this stat gets even crazier when you talk about graduates. Aren't there still way more female graduates than male graduates? Oh, I think the stat is about the same, but I wonder if that gap is just gonna widen in the future. They're also getting a majority of all degree types, associates, bachelors, masters, and even doctors. How to break down a door. Can't wait to try this one day. Lean into the kick. Drive heel into door. Drive heel of standing foot into ground. And kick near the lock, not the lock itself. Yeah, that would just be painful. Don't use your shoulder, and don't use a jump kick, even though it looks cool. It will look cool if you fail, but if you succeed, it's gonna be a pretty depressing trip down. Like, you're gonna look so cool for bashing the door in, but then you fall on your back and you just kind of have to lay there. It's not worth it. I'm just trying to think, like, in what scenario am I gonna be able to try this without going to prison? I feel like it's never a good situation when you have to kick down a door. Maybe they do a lot of this sort of stuff in LARPing the American Revolution. Which milk should I choose? Unsurprisingly, dairy milk has a lot of environmental impacts, all on emissions, land use, and water. Rice milk is a bit better, but not better than the other options. According to this, it's either soy milk or oat milk, and then it just kind of depends. But doesn't the soy milk have some side effects? And finally, there's almond milk, which uses less emission and land, but a lot of water. Isn't there so many other types of milk out there? This isn't even the full list. I was weird. I used to drink like a gallon of milk every week. 2 gallons when I was bulking. I might be personally responsible for all the problems we've had. And big thanks to my wife hates this part.
My name is Walter Hartwell White.
Drew's Argentinian grandpa. California and Nevada. Bring back Polandball. Mexican $20 is a lot. Drew. 37 Danny ThyGamer. LuxembourgLover. Matt Philipp RF. Phresh Animations. And why am I doing this?